our chapter 7, that you be not judged. Ask, and it will be given to you.
Picture an ancient crowd, their faces shifting from mild interest to a heavy, audible silence. They just heard a message challenging their entire social order. To understand their reaction, you have to look at the moral standard of that era. The recognized authorities, the scribes, operated a system built almost entirely on outward appearances. It was a culture of public compliance and verbal checklists, where looking righteous was the primary goal. Against that backdrop, Matthew 7 introduces a terrifying prospect. It reveals that a person can loudly proclaim all the right beliefs, perform notable works, and even claim to cast out devils, yet still be disowned by the teacher they follow. The text is blunt. I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity. Verbal allegiance offers no protection. Performing the correct vocabulary is an empty exercise. The text requires more than words. It requires concrete, verifiable action, doing the will of the Father. Surviving life's pressures requires abandoning performative religion. It demands a progressive rebuild of human behavior, starting from the inside out. We can map this survival framework using concentric rings. The first step requires focusing completely on that inner core, the self. This central lens illustrates the mote and beam concept, highlighting the mechanical absurdity of trying to remove a tiny speck from your neighbor's eye, while your own vision is blocked by a massive distortion. Rigorous self-correction is the necessary first step. You must ask the beam out of your own eye to achieve the visual clarity needed for clear outward action. Once that internal calibration is complete, you can move to the second ring, interpersonal relationships. The text commands the listener to ask, seek, and knock, establishing an active, persistent orientation of trust toward the divine. If flawed humans know how to give good gifts to their children, the divine provider is described as even more reliable. That secure vertical trust fuels how you treat other people. Because you aren't operating from a posture of scarcity, you can execute the golden rule, treating others exactly as you would want to be treated. This one principle summarizes the intent of the entire moral law. A cleared internal lens combined with baseline trust creates a functional foundation. It enables reciprocal, stable relationships in society. Moving to the outermost ring, we enter the broader world. The text describes this environment as a choice between two routes, a broad, heavily populated highway that leads to destruction, and a narrow, difficult path leading to life. The primary external threat in this environment isn't always obvious. It comes from malicious actors camouflaged as moral authorities. They approach in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. To pierce this deception, you must ignore their marketing and verbal claims. The valid metric is inspecting their fruit, the actual, tangible results of their lives. Human nature operates on laws of cause and effect. You don't harvest grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles. A corrupt underlying system produces an evil outcome. Conversely, a healthy tree brings forth good fruit. This provides an objective measure of truth that cuts through any disguise. Reality must be measured by outcomes. Evaluating people based on their behavioral execution is a primary safeguard against moral deception. Eventually, this philosophy faces a stress test. The rain descends, the floods come, and the wind blows. External pressure is a certainty. Two builders face this same storm. They share identical baseline conditions. They both hear the same teachings, process the same information, and experience the same weather event. Look at this structural simulation. The single variable separating these two builders happens beneath the surface. It is the active translation of hearing into doing. For the passive listener, the flood is devastating. The loose sand washes out, the structure loses all support, and the collapse is total. The active doer experiences the same impact, but their foundation successfully grounds and disperses the storm's energy. Because they acted on the information, their house is anchored to solid rock. It does not fall. When a crisis hits, intellectual agreement provides no structural support. Passive consumption of knowledge is functionally identical to ignorance. This is why the ancient crowd was astonished. They realized they were receiving an engineering manual for human survival. Righteousness is a built reality, not a spoken theory. True moral authority belongs only to those who fuse belief with execution.